Hey everyone, welcome out to 112 of a Nerd Named Mark podcast. It's me, it's Mark, and a lot of stuff to go over today. If you're watching on video, there's a multitude of items on my desk because I went shopping at various places, and I'm gonna get into that in a little bit. Gonna be talking about my return to buying comic books weekly again because there's some runs that I've been really enjoying that's getting back into it. I think, the lull period and the burnout with comic books is finally ended for me. I do have issues still with a lot of writing that's been happening in comics, but I'm going to touch on that. Really, that's, the big thing. Also, going to be talking about some games and, just this is going to be a grab bag. There's no real main topic, no real main theme for, usually what I do after all my normal stuff. And then usually I end the video for like the latter half of it talking about a topic. I really didn't have anything. And I was thinking, I was like, what can I talk about? Like, what, is. But I am going to be touching on a few things. I'm going to be talking about Bandai, premium Bandai stuff. I'm going to be going over a new Bandai store that opened within a store that I go to a lot, which is going to be a problem for me in my financial responsibilities that I have in life because, yeah, obviously rocking out a new Cowboy Bebop shirt. I always, me and my lady talk about this. Like, I have an affinity for like anime shirts. Some video game shirts depends on the design, but like my closet is like 2/3 anime shirts and then regular, clothing, and then also, fancy going out, special events, this like that. I can clean up pretty well when I need to. But most of the time I got the weeby drip. I got the anime drip on 9 times out of 10. Like I'm rocking out some anime. So, that's always entertaining. But yeah, uh, I thank everyone who checked out episode 111. I was a pleasure having Kaiju Carl on. Someone who I don't want to say I found, who, as a content creator, I discovered his content when I saw him during the Team Kamen Riders, like, essay and Rider Week stuff they were doing last year with streaming, and instantly was like, boom, started talking to him. We get, instantly was like friendship. We had a lot of similarities. A lot of people were even telling me like, I had some feedback where we were like, you have him back on the show again, and I'm like, of course. Like, there's no one and done when friends come on the show. Like Chris has been on multiple times. I always get positive feedback when he's on there. Always positive feedback when I have Daryl on there as well. So I was like, of course, I'm gonna have some reoccurring guests. That's gonna happen. But I am also trying to pin down some other guests as well for the future and then over the next couple months. So I'm really excited about that. I'm not going to talk about anything until anything is finalized. That's how I am. I don't like to be like, hey, this is some stuff. Here's what's coming on, because I shoot myself in the foot. Like I made a tweet about an Alf Kamen Rider video, and I'm still editing it. I'm still working on it. It's not easy to edit like something so time consuming from a filming standpoint. That's why a lot of my content, I have a lot of stuff already like in place for when I'm, recording, so it's not as difficult and everything's more simplistic in the editing process than when I try to do something a little more intricate, a little more detailed, a little more depth to it, and a little more scripted. It does take more time for me to edit because I'm still teaching myself a lot of edits. I am self-taught 100%. I'm, when I was in college, a little sidebar, and I was doing, at first I was in college for business accounting, and I was, all my electives and stuff like that, I was like, oh, I was doing film studies, film appreciation, and then instead of doing the actual filmmaking stuff, I was also doing design work as some of the classes. So I was learning at the time in 2004, I was actually learning how to actually do a magazine. I actually took the whole course. So technically speaking, I can make a magazine if I want to. I know how, I know all the tropes, how to lay out the pages, how to design them, practices, how you want to do it, and the theory behind what goes into making an appealing and good magazine, and not just have like sections and everything thrown around. There's actually a whole theory behind it and a purpose to why magazines are laid out the way they are while you're reading them and how the pages go. I didn't know that. I actually took a course. So I wish I did the video side of things, but I was like, well, I want to do the film studies. I want to learn the thematics. I want to learn why things are done a certain way instead of the practical side of things of how to do it yourself. So basically, on paper, I could be a movie critic, and I can write thesis papers on films, but making a film, no. So I'm still learning a lot of video editing stuff. Most of the stuff is from watching YouTube videos, reading PDFs, and it's the same way with Photoshop. Like I taught myself Photoshop. I taught myself, I always have this idea and process behind the fact that if I have the time, why pay someone else to do something and not just learn it myself? I want to be self-sufficient, and then that saves money. Yes, there have been times where I'm like, oh, if I ever get, bigger, or my work gets to it, I will maybe look into paying someone to edit my videos, not to be like a big boss, like, oh, I got a whole team of editor, I got an editor on, I just film and then I send it off to my editor. Not like that standpoint, just like there's always going to be someone better than you. There's always going to be someone who could do something better than you. That's just facts. If you're so if there's an eye that someone has that's like, hey, if you tweak your edits this way and this and that, it'd be better. That's why I take feedback a lot, whether it's YouTube comments, DMs, tweets. I take a lot of the feedback in, like, as long as it's actual feedback and not someone just being a dick, which has been happening lately on my Twitter, on my YouTube videos. But you know what? Speaking of YouTube, 15 subscribers away from 500. It's still April. I'm on pace to pass my goal for the year, which is ridiculous because I always say, and I feel like I'm a broken record, I set realistic expectations for myself when it comes to content creating. When I was, first getting into freelance writing, I was just like, you know what, I want to make maybe like $50 this year, and my first year being a freelance, I passed that, and I was like, oh, but and then I kept being a freelance writer for about like 2, maybe 3 years, and then I was like, I want to start my own site. I've learned a lot. I've been under these knowledge trees, so to speak, and there are certain things I didn't like. I didn't like deadlines. I didn't like certain ways things were handled with some of the sites. I didn't like how the distribution of labor was. I didn't like that, there's a lot of favoritism from higher ups. I didn't like the way they're like, okay, well, that review you did was good. We don't have anything for you right now, so we're gonna have you just be our press posting guy for like a month, and you don't make money posting press releases, And I was like, well, listen, I'm in college, like full time, and I'm working a full time job. It's easier for me to review something because I can play the game and then review it. Whereas now I'm getting, text messages and emails being like, hey, there's like 10 new press releases today. We need you to post like at least 5 of them. And it's like, well, I'm in class. I have to work. So eventually I started my website. When I started my website, I was like, okay, my goal wasn't even money. My goal was like, I want 1 press badge to a convention. And then I ended up getting 3 that year. And then I was like, all right, I got 3. Next year, I want 5. And then I got 5. And then, I was like, okay. And then I was like, I want to at least have the opportunity to review 1 game I don't buy out of pocket. And then there was some years where it was like, I was getting 10, 15 games. And I had, staff writers. Chris was there. We had Ross. We had a few others. And we had some freelancers come and go. So it was like, yeah, like I set realistic goals because you never know. This is a very saturated market, especially the podcasting market. So it's kind of funny. There's this misconception where everyone thinks I started my podcast in the pandemic. And I was like, no. I started in 2019. like summer, like, right before San Diego Comic-Con. And so I was like, yeah, I definitely didn't, start this during the pandemic. I know a lot of people who started podcasts during the pandemic. Not me. I didn't do that. Like it's good coffee. I started mine in 2019, but I had a podcast with those gaming nerds. Yeah, it wasn't consistent, but we had a podcast that's going all the way back to 2012, 2013. I had, you know, I was doing some podcasting stuff back in 2015. I was on the Trophy Horse podcast. I was a guest a few times in 2015. 2016, I was on there. I was on there basically all through 2016, 2017. So it's like I've been doing podcasts for a while. So now with this podcast, when I was done podcasting, I took 18 months off of content creating in general. Like no YouTube, no podcasting. And I was just like, all right, let me think. Let me do research. So I researched a lot of podcasts, how solo podcasts were working, how, how to structure them, how to not, how to be a presence with your voice, because I wasn't doing video. Like, if you follow me on Twitter or Instagram, you know the setup I had when I first started the podcast. It was literally a Lenovo Yoga Pro 2, a auxiliary mic, one of these like $10 Amazon ones that had the little stand built into it and a little, pop filter and the wind screen. And like, I did it that way. And I was using like my Xbox headset plugged into it. There were times where I actually used the mic to record, and it was all, and then I was like, well, if I don't have good audio equipment, I'm going to learn audio editing so at least sounds good. So I've always been a type where it's like, teach myself, learn, because that's the only way you're going to get, better. You can buy all this equipment, but learning to edit, learning to all the tech side of things, and like it's always helpful. You can never wear too many hats. So that was that was it. Got my headphones. Gotta have the headphones because it goes with the logo of the podcast. Speaking of, I'm so happy with everyone who has been giving me feedback about the new cover art for the podcast, and I kind of want to explain that. So the logo, my friend Billy, who is phenomenal graphic designer, like that was hand drawn. Then he scanned it and then he fine tuned it in Adobe Illustrator. He is a design genius. I talked to him. It's my best friend. I've known him since we were kids. Literally my best friend from back home. And it's kind of, when you move across the country, it's tough with time zone changes, this and that, to keep up with friendships. But that's one, always keep that friendship. And he is like one of the most, like, from a design standpoint, freaking super creative. He has a master's in digital media marketing, all this other stuff. And he he made the logo, and I was like, I love the logo, the snap, but I was like, man, I need, yes, that's me in the logo, but I want my face on there. Like, I want a presence in the cover art strictly because, I was like, who's hitting the Switch controller? For those who are watching, the little thing on Pokemon Unite went up, and I was like, what the hell? And the cat was like reaching up on the desk to like get my attention, and she hit the thumbstick, which is cute. So, I was like, man, I want to change the cover art, and I feel like the white with just the logo was very bright and just wasn't appealing. Like if you're just scrolling through podcasts, type in like nerd or video games, this and that, and you're scrolling through, it wouldn't draw you in. And I was like, well, so I started doing research on cover art of podcasts, looking at analytics for cover arts for like what was not trending, but what was something that would draw someone in. And I was like, you know what? Let me just take this cropped image, do the freaking magic lasso, a field blur on the background, put the logo there, put a border on it. I was like, oh, looks good. Love it. So I changed that, and then I started, and I did something I don't normally do. I looked at my analytics, and there was a drastic shift in new listenership and retention with the new logos, with the new cover art. So I was like, you know what? I made a good decision on doing this, so that was a good idea. And there we are. Got a new cover art, and I'm drinking coffee. So, let's see. I'm trying to figure out what to start with. Okay, so I'm gonna start with comic books, and then I'm gonna explain why I'm back into weekly pulling of comics, because I've been, for those of you who have been listening to the podcast this whole entire time, there's been this comic book journey I've been on since even I started the podcast. When I started the podcast, my comic book section was drastic, was huge. I was pulling, 15, maybe like 10 to 15 issues a week. I was pulling in 40 plus comics a month. And now it's been like maybe 12 to 15 comics a month. But with some new runs going and just a lot of new new IPs, starting with, non-major too, like Image, Dark Horse, and that, starting up new IPs. There's been this resurgence within me that I'm actually enjoying reading comics. And I know for a while there, I was reading a lot of manga, and that was kind of taking over most of what I was, that was replacing my comic book, void in my life. I'm still buying manga, don't get me wrong. I still love manga. I'm still trying to get a nice collection of manga again. That is a slow process, but it is happening. But let's go to comics. So, there's a new run, issue 2 of the Stranger Things new. I think this is a 4-issue arc. I got cover D because I love the way the Demogorgon looks on it. If you're watching on YouTube, you obviously see it. If you're listening to it, I do post my comic book hauls on Instagram. I'm starting to get back into Instagram more, just from a visual aid standpoint. So when I do talk about something, and if you don't want to watch on YouTube and you listen on, any of the podcasting networks, you can go over to my Instagram at a nerd named Mark, and you can see the comics that I pulled. So you can actually see what I got and see some of the covers. Then we have number 6 of Donny Cates' Hulk. This is such a good comic. This is the Titan Emerges issue. This is actually Ryan Otley did this cover. I love this cover so much. Donny Cates' Thor is really good. 6 issues in. I feel like I keep saying it every time, but if you haven't, go check out Donny Cates' Thor and Hulk. Like Donny Cates' Thor, I've been obviously talking about for I don't even know, like since he started the run. But Hulk, so good right now. Definitely worth checking out. And hold on, my kitten's being weird. But yeah, definitely check out Donny Cates' Iron Man. Fuck. So yeah, definitely go check out Donny Cates' Hulk. Really good. It's like 6 issues in and I'm hooked. Because I do the 3-issue rule. Like I give everything. Same with TV shows. The three rule, which is not original for me. I did not create this, but this is just how I do everything. I give TV shows and comics 3 issues to hook me in before I give up on them. So, obviously, Donny Cates' Hulk passed the 3-issue rule. And another one that has is we have Power Rangers number 18. We are on the charge to issue 100. I like this. It's I don't know if they stopped connecting covers, because usually I have connecting covers, but I think they actually stopped them. And obviously to go along with it, we have Mighty Morphin 18. Groom, I don't know how I feel about the writing yet. Like I said, 3-issue rule, And then it's been a while since I've gotten something. I got a Fun with Little Archie and Friends special. I do love Archie comics. I am quite the Archie fan. And then we also now have Miles Morales Spider-Man 37 Lost in the Spider-Verse. And I want to touch on something really quick. There's been I had this conversation with a comic book employee at the comic book shop, and also just seeing tweets and YouTube videos about it. I am slowly kind of, I'm not getting burnt out, but like the the writing's on the wall with Miles Morales Spider-Man. The run had its moments where it was just like, okay, like the start of it was really good, really good. I think like I've been adamant where I'm not the biggest Miles Morales fan in the past. I think the original Ultimate Spider-Man stuff after he was on there was just didn't do it for me. Um, I was like, there was just something about the writing. And Miles Morales Spider-Man started off really good. There's some team ups in there with like Captain America. There was the whole couple issues with Rhino, and you know this and that. And then it was good. And then we got into like the Clone Saga, and now we have Lost in the Spider-Verse. And I'm just like, and I know there's been some issues because there's a lot of what ifs that are just catered to Miles Morales right now. Like, what if he was Captain America? What if he was Wolverine? I think they're doing a Thor one, and I'm just like, this is how you turn comic book fans, not casual ones who just pick up comics and like to read and enjoy them like I was when I was a kid. And there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of, you know, casual comic fans out there who don't, you know, look in all the stuff and don't really care. They just want to buy their comics and read them. I'm trying to be like that now, honestly. I don't consider myself a comic book elitist. Just because I've been collecting and reading for 30 years does not make me better than anyone else who likes comics. I'm adamant in a lot of these comic book experts and people who are just like curators and so knowledgeable on comics, kind of having that high and mighty like tone to them and presence. That's not me. All right. You want to get into comics? Good. You want to have a conversation with me? Let's have conversations. At the end of the day, I just like to talk comics and I just enjoy fiction. I like fictional characters. So my thing with Miles Morales is it's going to be the Wolverine situation where we were getting so much Wolverine. And like, I get it. Wolverine's a beloved character. I am not comparing Miles Morales to Wolverine. No way, shape, or form. Wolverine is a staple. He's an icon. He has been established. Miles Morales has been around for some years, and like he's more polarizing amongst comic book fans because you have the diehards who are like, he's not Spider-Man. He's Miles Morales. He should be named anything else. He is not Spider-Man. Peter Parker is Spider-Man. The kitten is like going crazy in the kitchen right now. I don't know what her issue is. But whereas, you know, Wolverine is that. But Wolverine for a while there, let's face it. Wolverine was in freaking everything. He had his own comic. He had X-Men. He was showing up here and there. And it was just, I was even like, I'm tired of Wolverine. But then again, I've never been a Wolverine fan. I've been adamant. I have been very public about this. I will not shit on the character. I just don't like Wolverine. I never have. And so with Miles Morales, I understand the pushback because instantly he was given the mantle, so to speak, of Spider-Man in the Ultimate Universe. And a lot of people, you know, push back. They're like, why does he have to be Spider-Man? Why can't he be an original character? And I get that perception, but that's not the case. You got to live in reality. He's Spider-Man. Okay. And like that's just like, okay, we have Ben Riley, there's that, like, so is it really unheard of that there's someone who's Spider-Man that's not Peter Parker? Like that's other thing too. So, you know, with now the writing, like, I don't know, I've been getting kind of just tired of the Miles Morales Spider-Man story. Like the writing isn't bad, it's just not hooking me in. It's not keeping me, like when I finish an issue of a comic book, unless it's a one shot, and when I finish an issue of a comic book, if it doesn't make me, I can't say I can't wait for the next issue, or I wonder how this is going to continue, I wonder what's going to happen next. If it doesn't make me say those things, then like it doesn't do it for me, you know. Like I want to continue, I want something that's going to hook me in and continue me to want to like read these issues. And we're 37 issues into Miles Morales Spider-Man, and we're doing the Spider-Verse. And we already did the Clone Saga. And I'm like, no. Like, I find multiverses, and I have been on the record saying this, tweeting it, videos, podcasts, multiverses are lazy. Time travel is lazy. Star Trek did it, made it popular, and it was done right. Star Trek has always handled it well. I'm not even a big Trekkie, honestly, I'm not. Doctor Who is a Time Lord. That's the basis of it, okay? That's different. When it's in comic books and, movies and this and that, I always feel like it's, especially in comics, it's one of those things where in comic book movies, it's like you wrote yourself, you directed and did everything yourself. You're in a corner now. If you can't find a creative way to get out of that corner, time travel, multiverse. That's it. It's one of those tropes that's like getting more and more popular, and I am just hating it. Even DC didn't do it that bad because they had the Flash and the Speed Force and this and that. So like in Crisis of Infinite Earths, like all that stuff made sense. They did it well, and they don't cater to it. Marvel caters to these multiverses, and now they're doing it with the movies. And I get it. Spider-Man: No Way Home, great film. Now, because that movie did so well, I have a feeling we're gonna have a lot of multiverse bullshit for a very long time now. And it's going to be confusing to keep track of. Like, I want to see Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. One, I actually am a fan of Doctor Strange before the movies. And two, Sam Raimi. I love Sam Raimi, and not just from Spider-Man, Evil Dead, Drag Me to Hell. I love Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi is a phenomenal writer and director. I attribute my love of B horror films to Sam Raimi because of Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, Drag Me. Like, I would have never gotten into that genre, and I would have stuck to the mainstream stuff if I didn't see Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness and rent them on freaking VHS back in the day when I was like 10, and I fell in love with those. Like, Ash is one of my favorite characters of all time. So, and I mean, Bruce Campbell's just a phenomenal actor also. But the thing with Doctor Strange is we're getting multiverse stuff, and I guarantee you another thing about the film is you have to watch these Disney Plus shows to get some idea of what the multiverse is. You have to watch WandaVision before Doctor Strange if you want some stuff in context. They even say Loki is gonna explain more, and I'm like, I don't want to have to do research and watch other shows to enjoy a movie, or be left in the dark for some throwaway lines that they're probably going to put in there to tie them all together, So with Miles Morales going into Lost in the Spider-Verse, I'm just like, this is not going to really do it for me, because I don't want more Spider-Verse stuff. I really don't. The Into the Spider-Verse film was good. And now that we're getting the next one split into two parts, I'm like, I really hope we don't get more Into the Spider-Verse stuff after those two films. You set up all these other ones. Give me a Spider-Man noir show. Give me Spider-Man 2099, which I know they're working on. Give me those. Give me Toei's Spider-Man. Reboot that. Give me that, because that was so... I touched on it when me and Chris were talking about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse back when we reviewed that. Go check that episode out. It's really good. And I touched on Toei Spider-Man, and I was like, you know what? Give me that. I want to see that, and that would be hilarious, especially in the Into the Spider-Verse cell-shaded type of graphics and animation. That would be perfect. I want Toei Spider-Man. But yeah, that's my comics. That's my thoughts on everything, from that. Now, this is the difficult part. I'm not going to go into the Bandai story yet. Or, well, talk about it anyways. I already went in and I bought stuff. I'm going to go over just a follow-up to a video I've done a long time ago. If I can, I'll probably put the thumbnail right there so you can see. I finally finished my NECA Toonie Terror collection. Target had a restock of older ones, and I don't know why. So I found a non-glow-in-the-dark Nun. I have the glow-in-the-dark one, the Chase, which is unopened. That one I have not opened. So, but this one is the regular non-glow-in-the-dark. This will be opened and put on my shelf with all my other Toonie Terrors. And then, something I didn't think I would find, because I almost bought this on eBay. I finally have the regular Leatherface. I have the Loot Crate exclusive one. I finally found a regular Leatherface. People were selling these for like $50 to $70, and it's not even the Loot Crate one. And apparently, they were really hard to find. And I was at Target, and they had 2 pegs of Leatherface and 1 peg of the Nun. They had all of them, like all like from wave 1 to wave like 3. And I was like, how? Where have these been? Were they just in a warehouse? These aren't like, they still have the original date from when they came out. So I was like, well, these aren't like, new prints. These are like, I was like, I was confused. So yeah, Leatherface and the Nun are now in the collection. My NECA Toonie Terror set is now complete, which means I can finally make a new video going over my whole collection. I don't think you understand. Like, this has been like for the last, I don't know what, year and a half. This has been like, I've been hunting these down. I have been trying to find them all. And sometimes when new ones would come out, I'd find them. My lady would text me like, hey, I'll be at work, and I'll get a text message from her, and I'll look. She's like, yeah, I'm at Target just getting a few things. Do you need this one? And it's like a photo of the Bloody Ash. I'm like, yeah, I need that one. Give me that one. Thank you. Like, I was like, and it was just one of those things I go out and always check. Like, when I found the Jaws one, I was so excited because for the longest time I couldn't find the Jaws one, and I couldn't find the Chucky and Tiffany, and finding those was like, made me so happy. But now my NECA Toonie Terror set is complete. This is honestly a big deal for me because a lot of people notice when I collect things, I am a completionist. I want complete sets. I need complete sets. It bugs me if I start displaying stuff and I'm missing one figure. I don't know if it's like OCD or what. Like, I have OCD for organization and cleaning. That's besides the point. But I don't know if it's just the completionist in me. Like, just staring at it will bother me. So for a long time, I'm sitting there looking, and I'm like, I don't want to open the glow in the dark Nun, but man, not having a nun on that shelf is annoying me. And man, there's a spot for Leatherface. Those are the last 2 I need. That's all I want. Like, give me those now. And now that I have them, I am like, it's like a weight has been lifted off me from a collector standpoint. Like, I'm just really happy. Like, honestly, like this. Like, it's like with the movie reel NECA stuff for Godzilla. Like, I was getting all those, and I was like, man, I need, I'm missing like 2. And then when I finally got the Shin Godzilla one, and then I got the Godzilla one from Tokyo SOS, I was like, oh, I'm done. I have all the NECA movie reel Godzillas. And then I even got the 2 King Kong ones, the regular one, and then the re-release one that was like multicolored. I was like, yep, got that too. I was like, yay. That's done. That's complete. And it's not every figure, okay? It's like really specific. It's certain sets. Like with the Lightning collection for Power Rangers, which I did a whole video on, which people still are giving me shit about. I sold all my stuff except for 2, which I want to get signed for my personal collection. So when I sold like those, I wasn't trying to get every Lightning collection figure that came out from Hasbro for Power Rangers because 1, quality control, 2, I didn't watch all the seasons. I want the ones from when I was growing up. So I was getting, Mighty Morphin, Zeo, all special edition ones, the Draken Evo, this and that. And it turned into, well, even now they're still doing Mighty Morphin stuff. And I can feel for the fans who are just getting really pissed that they're not getting their, Power Rangers they want from the Lightning collection. We just keep getting Mighty Morphin over and over again. I get it, but then again, that is the staple season. That is really what put that made it pop culture. Like, I've done videos, I've talked about this. The Mighty Morphin era of Power Rangers was made Power Rangers like a part of pop culture. And it's never been back at that level again. It hasn't. It can be popular, the merch can be flying out the shelves, but when regular people on the streets or this and that, you say Power Rangers, they're going to go back to Tommy, Jason, Green Ranger, White Ranger. White Ranger is my favorite. Oh, I love the pink one. But you ask them to name other seasons, they're probably not going to, and that's just a cold, bitter pill to swallow that, Power Rangers hasn't been ingrained in pop culture from a general public standpoint in a very long time. So I get why they're catering to many more from them. They're going to get the member berries. They're going to get the member berry money. Okay. And, you know, let's face it, those designs were still freaking sick. You know, like they were. I mean, you can't see, I actually have like a 3-foot Megazord. So listen, if anyone's going to be talking about Power Rangers and Power Rangers stuff, it's going to be the guy who was there when it came out and has been buying the toys since I was a kid. But I don't really buy Power Ranger stuff anymore. Like, that's just, it's that time has been, you know, long. I don't even want to get into that. I'll do that eventually. I'll go into Power Ranger stuff. So yeah, you know, it's, so with completing sets, you know, for me, it's like, it has to be something I really want the complete set. That's what it's like with my tokusatsu stuff, which I don't talk a lot of tokusatsu stuff on the podcast, which is odd. So I'm going to be doing that more soon, especially next month with all the Ultraman stuff I'm going to be doing. If you haven't already, on the YouTube channel, I did a big video called, and basically announcing Ultra May, which is the month of Ultraman. And I am going to be talking so much Ultraman. I'm going to get like probably physically ill with the amount of Ultraman I'm going to be talking about. And that's one of the haul stuff I also have, but it's over by the TV. I also got the last 4 Blu-rays I needed for my Ultraman Mill Creek collection. I got the Ultraman 7X Blu-ray. I got the the Ultra 8 Blu-ray. And then I finally got the Zero complete set. And then the Zero collection that had like the 4 movies and specials for Ultraman Zero. So now that that's done, I have all 28 Mill Creek Blu-ray / DVD sets that they released for Ultraman, except for one that is sold out because it was exclusive to their distributor. It was called like The Secrets of the Rise of Ultraman, and I have the regular version of it. So, and that exclusive one has been like sold out. Obviously, if it's ever not sold out, I'm gonna buy it because I need it in the clip because I'm a completionist. And they did just announce like Ultraman Mebius is coming out, I believe, in June. And between now and June, I don't think there's anything else coming out. So once that comes out, I'll have, you know, that. I'm hoping they announce more because I really want to have a complete Ultraman collection. You can kind of see if you're watching videos behind me, my Ultraman collection has now expanded to 2 shelves and probably will go to a 3rd. Because also the manga is on hiatus. 16 volumes in, 17th volume is coming out, I think, in like 2 months. And I'm like, really? Like, the manga's so good. And I'm obviously gonna be talking about that in like next month. And I'm gonna be going over like a lot of stuff. So those are some things I picked up that I won't be able to show because they're all the way over there and I'm sitting in my chair. Next up. So Bandai, I already talked about this a minute. Bandai opened up a store. If you saw my videos before, Bandai had a pop-up shop at Tokyo Central and Main here in San Diego. And over the last couple weeks, I still go over that way. I go to Book Off, I go to Mitsuya Market, I go to the Murokai Market, I get, you know, this and that. So I get my candy toys and I get my noodles and everything else and mochi. So I noticed they were building some stuff. They put the life size, or they're not life size. Well, they put the bigger statue of the RX-78. It wasn't life size, trust me. I would try and buy it if it was. And they started, you know, they're like, oh, Bandai flagship store, and I'm like, oh, so this is permanent, but there's nothing on the shelves. Next week I'm there, nothing on the shelves. I'm like, they have it all roped off with, you know, the yellow caution tape, and I'm sitting there and I ask one, but like, what's going in there? They're like, oh, remember we had that pop-up store? I'm like, yeah, I do remember. I remember my bank account being sad. And they were like, yeah, we're getting a permanent one. And I'm like, I was like, permanent? Like, forever? They're like, oh, for time being. And I'm like, well then. So finally open. You saw my tweets. It was bad. In a good way. So I bought some stuff. But I was really good about it. I was really good. I was kind of good. I didn't buy a lot of stuff, just pricey. But Nanoblocks, we got to start with the Nanoblocks. This is, and I hate to sound like this is the cutest thing in the world. It's a Caterpie and a Pokeball for Nanoblocks. Like, little Caterpie and a Pokeball. And I was like, oh. But then also I was like, it's a 2-pack, so I'm getting 2 for 1. So yeah, there's that. If you're watching the video, you get to see it. Then My favorite, well, it's a tie for my favorite evolution. Obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see Pokemon Unite on TV. There's my Sylveon, and I finally got my Nanoblock for Sylveon. Yay! I'm that made me happy that I saw that there, because that's one of Umbreon and Sylveon are my two favorites. If I had to pick a third, probably Vaporeon, just because water type, and I would say, you know, a lot of people say Jolteon for the electric type, but like I would never, like I wouldn't use Jolteon. I like was it the Lux Rio, the dog? I like that one for electric type. So got those. Then there's a kit, and it's kind of cheating because you could see right over my shoulder. I built it already because I couldn't wait. I got the Figurized Standard Amplified Armored Batman kit, and when I tell you, this thing not only was easy and quick to build, the freaking thing looks amazing. I had to put them on my Action Base 4 over there. Can't really see it. I'm probably gonna do a video because I got some highlights, like time lapse of building it. It was so good. Like, I had so much fun building it. And my lady walked over, so what's that? That's the Batman. She's like, oh, that looks really cool. I'm like, I know it does look cool, doesn't it? And lastly, what I got there, because I had to get something common order related, I got this Cyclone Joker. This is the Figurized Artisan. I think this is going to be very intricate. This is going to be a build that I will probably make on stream, because I do plan on starting the stream again soon, I think. And I was gonna, you know, I started doing a tweet about it, then I was like, I'll leave it in the drafts. So I think I'm at the point now where I'm not comfortable, where things are kind of, the momentum in the Steam is going, and I've kind of got it down for good time management, where I can finally start focusing on streaming again. Because when I focus on one thing, I want to focus on one thing until I get it to the point where I'm happy with it and continue with it, and then I can focus on that. So I start off with the podcast. Once it got to a place where it picked up momentum and I was kind of in my groove, so to speak, and I got out of that funk from, you know, 2020, I was like, all right, now let's focus on YouTube. So I started focusing on the YouTube last year, and now I'm finally hitting my stride with creating the content, planning the content, editing. So now I'm like, okay, now that I hit my stride with making video content, now I will focus on streaming. Because I'm not the type who's going to put all my eggs in one basket. I want to have my hand in different cookie jars, but I'm not going to start 3 or 4 different things at one time and spread myself thin, because everything's going to suffer. You focus on one, you get it going. Once you're happy with it, start the next thing. Now I got, so podcast, YouTube, now streaming. That's next. And, you know, obviously there's planning phases. Streaming's not going to start anytime soon. Might be within a month. But now I do want to stream building that, though. I loved when I was streaming and like just building Nanoblocks and Gundam G-frames and SDW heroes and this and that. Like, I enjoyed those streams a lot. They were really chill, and that's kind of on brand with me. I like to relax. I don't want to, you know, be high strung and like, you know, frustrated and just, you know, I want to have chill, relax. Let's make some freaking model kits. Let's just hang out, you know, and chit chat. So that's coming. That's definitely going to be done soon. So I'm on the pre-planning phases of that. I'm going to revamp all the graphics and everything else. But there's one more thing. There's more Kamen Rider stuff, because I've been waiting for this. That's right. My Demons Driver's here, finally, from Premium Bandai. Oh, so this is one of the few times where I'm like, if you're listening, you should definitely go check out my social media or go over on YouTube and watch the video, because the Demons Driver is here. Oh, I have been waiting for this for so long. Like, you don't understand. Like, when I first saw the driver and the henshin, I was like, this will be mine. I was like, I need this. I don't even know what I need to do to get it. I don't know where to get it. I was like, but I need it. And then was released. It was premium Bandai. I was on the latter half of the review, the release cycle, so it just arrived this week, and I was like, it was a point where I was so excited. I opened it up and I was like, I need to put batteries. Now all the other drivers and this and that never had AAA batteries, right? This one takes 4 AA. Like the Senkin Sword driver, I think takes 2 AAAs. The Vice stamp doesn't take any. Well, the Revice driver anyway is not the Vice stamps. And I was like, none of my belts take AA's. So I actually ran to the store, like down the street. Like I didn't drive. I was actually like walked. I power walked, and I got AA batteries. Put that in, and I was like, oh, it's so good. I love it so much. But yeah, so that's all the stuff I bought, and it was a good week. So with all the, like, but I did hint at it, and I was gonna go before end the episode. With comic books, there's a lot of good runs. Like with I did some reviews. With Power Rangers versus Godzilla, the Little Monsters, Hulk, Thor, this and that. I've actually been really happy with going back to my comic book store every week. Before it was like once, maybe every 3 weeks, once a month even. Now I'm like, no, I want to go every week. Like I want to go, I'm getting back into comic books, and I always like to, after the last, not besides the Carl one, but a couple episodes now, I've been kind of negative towards like comic book stuff and going on rants and tangents, and I've been getting feedback where people are like, we want to know more about your opinions on things, and I just don't want to be that guy who goes into the sector of let me make angry videos and podcasts where I'm just like, old man yells at sky. Like, no, that's not who I want to be. So, I'm all for, if you want to have a conversation like DMs or Twitter or anything like that, I'm all for it. But from a content creating standpoint, I'm not going to waste the time or the energy being negative about things. I'm getting feedback where people, my MCU video and that's not, people are still like, no, it is, this, and I'm like, I don't even engage in it. You know what, you want to comment on it, you want to give your opinion, that's your opinion. I'm just saying, I will, when the writing's on the wall and it's just bad storytelling and this and and bad directing and bad CG, that's what takes me out of it. That's what takes me out of a movie or comic or TV show, not the other stuff. That, at the end of the day, it's a work of fiction. Like, it's meant to entertain. And what's not entertaining is bad writing or bad CG, unless it's intentional. Because let's face it, intentional bad CG and bad practical effects sometimes are hilarious, and I enjoy that stuff. Like, especially B horror films. Like, I can go to a whole multitude of bad movies that are like guilty pleasure, just amazing because they are so bad, But that's that's not my thing. I'm not gonna like purposely go out there and be a negative person. I'm like, to tell everyone I'm old. I'm 36. I want to just chill, have fun, be positive. I want people to enjoy the content. I don't want to be a negative person. I don't want to be angry and yelling at my mic. Brr, brr, brr. Like, no, that's not me. Anyone knows me, that's not me. So that being said, there's a lot of stuff today. There's no real main topic, but it was a fun episode. I enjoyed it. Like, I'm gonna put my Toonie Terrors on my shelf now, and then I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go play with my Demon's Driver. Honestly, like, I'm just gonna have it like that, really quick. There we go. And I'm gonna make some more Nanoblocks. I have a lot of Nanoblock stuff. Like, I actually moved my Nanoblocks display cases. I have to get a third display case, and sadly, they're sold out. And Amazon's like, we don't know if they're gonna be back in stock. So I like looked up the manufacturer, and I was trying to find like their site and this and that, and like they're just sold completely out. And I was like, man, like, I need a third one, or else I can't make any more Nanoblocks. I still have about 5 more Demon Slayer ones, and I have about 6 more Pokemon ones. I finished the Kamen Rider ones. I finished all my Dragon Ball Z ones that I have anyways. I have to buy more. Pokemon ones, I feel like it's an uphill battle with the Pokemon Nanoblocks because there's just so many. But I'm making good progress. I think I'm probably outside of the ones I have to build. I think I only have to buy like eight or nine more, and then I have every single one that's been released so far. So that's pretty good. But that's it. That's it for episode 112 of a Nerd Name Mark podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, you see the red button below the video. That's a subscriber button to subscribe to the channel. If it's red, you're not subscribed. If you want to hit that, subscribe to the channel, I greatly appreciate it. Currently, very close to 500 subscribers. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave me a 5-star review. All that good jazz. You can find the podcast on Spotify, Anchor, Pod Republic, Podbean, Amazon Podcast, Google Play Store, all the other good jazz places. I am going to be switching my hosting soon for the podcast. I will be talking about that in the next coming weeks. That's going to be a long, drawn out thing. It will not affect the audio listeners. It will not affect where the podcast shows up or how it shows up. I'm just at the point where I want to get some more features. I want to get more in-depth analytics to look at so I can figure out how to always improve and make the podcast better for the audio listenership. So I'm going to be switching over to a new hosting that you pay for that gives you all this stuff and this and that. And I'm like, okay, that's where I need to be. And I did a lot of research. I've actually been looking into it for the last like 2 or 3 months. I don't make any rash, quick decisions. I research. So I will have some information on that soon. But I thank you guys for listening. I thank you guys for watching. This has been episode 112 of a Nerd Named Mark podcast. My name is Mark, and I'm a nerd.